Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrick, and alongside me, as always, is the mayor of the Deep Stone Crypt, now equipped with Hawkmoon, Mr. Josh.
Hey!
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Corey. I got 2 random roll Hawkmoons this week, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How exactly is this working? I'm very, intrigued and kind of confused.
Man, it is, first off, I really like this. I don't want to do it for every exotic. I don't want exotics to have random rolls ever, because I think that's a pain in the ass. And I do think there's going to be a static one they'll give us at the end of the, at the very end of the year, when this particular mission, the Harbinger, is no longer available. But, man, it's just such a good mission. The whole quest line with Hawkmoon and with Crow this season is special. This is one of the more memorable exotic quest lines, in my opinion, because you have to do stuff just to get Hawkmoon, and then you have other quests with Crow, and then you come back and you do another mission in the EDZ, retreading some of the same ground. That a lot of the same ground you did in all of the Hawkmoon and Crow missions, and that's when you get your random rolls at the end of it. And make no mistake, the mission is hard. It is a challenge because they don't tell you the modifiers ahead of time, but they have match game on, increased solar damage, increased environmental damage, increased melee damage. Of course, all of the enemies are taken. It's hard. We spent a solid 15 minutes hiding behind a rock in one corner of the final boss room. Because you have to take it out in phases. You can't just nuke the boss, unfortunately.
Yeah. It sounds like that. Man, what was the one strike they took out of Destiny 1, where you could hide behind this one rock and you could just hide there and just chip away at the big guy in the middle.
Oh, you could do it in Rocket's McDickface in Valis Tarak. You could hide behind the boxes and shoot him through the crack in them. You could hit him right through the crack, Corey.
Always hit him in the crack, Josh.
Always hit him in the crack. Always aim for the crack.
It always hurts from the crack.
Too. You could shoot through the doorway in Fogoth. You stood in the right place. The Shriekers wouldn't spawn, and if they did, you just ran out the other door and shot them from back there.
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
He's equipped with a fire cannon, so basically it touches you and you die. I was 25 under level, because it's a 1280 mission, I think. I was a decent amount under, and I was hot swapping between weapons, since you can do it really fast now. But there is a triumph for doing it in a fire team of 3 with everybody having Hawkmoon on and never taking it off. There's champions in it. It's an experience. It's really, really good. And apparently ours was bugged because we didn't get a lot of the voiceover dialogue that you get.
Oh, really?
In that mission? Because I was like, man, this is kind of weird that we're not getting any dialogue. Apparently we had a bugged instance. But hey, that's why things are going to be around for the whole year. I do love the ship. I was going to save this whole talk for later, but man, it's such a special mission. I know a lot of people have complained about this season, and I mean, I have too, in regards to loot and the specific activity, but holy shit, the quests from Crow have just knocked it out of the park. I think the High Celibate, when it works, is a really awesome mission. I wish all the Wrathborn hunts were like that.
Yeah.
It would get me to actually do more of them, I think, instead of just grinding them to get my triumphs and get my seal.
Yeah. I just, the hunts just kind of I don't know, I just kind of stopped doing them after a while, because I just didn't feel like there was really any incentive after a while, you know? Yeah,
I mean, once you get your specific roles that you want on the weapons, and I mean, a ton of people don't really use linear fusions, because that's taking up a heavy slot. And, I mean, Deafening Whisper, the grenade launcher, is okay. Especially if you can get with Ambitious Assassin. It's good if you're good with breach loaders. But on top of that, I mean, or not on top, I guess, other than that, Friction Fire is fine for a primary SMG. And I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of anything else that's actually worth getting. Blast Butte, I mean, there's 3 other heavy grenade launchers that are better than that. And the Scout Rifle is bad. it's bad. Royal Chase is not good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, underwhelming in terms of loot, but holy shit, the Hawkmoon stuff just knocks it out of the park. Like, if you're going to give us a seasonal exotic like this, I would love for it to be tied to a quest. Maybe not this long, like, to do everything, but I do like that, like, the first time you do it, like, when you do the first couple quests, that's leading up to you getting Hawkmoon. This is to go in and activate getting random rolls. You're guaranteed 2 drops a week from it, and they're powerful Hawkmoon drops. As well as the catalyst the first time you do it, an emblem the first time you do it, an additional powerful, legendary powerful, and then once you've collected 100 feathers, which, unless you're collecting all of them, is probably going to take you about 3 runs through.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take me about 2 1/3 to finish it on mine, and I'm pretty sure we missed a couple of feathers to get the ship, which, you know, I think there's a cutscene attached to it from the preview that we were seeing in the little footage they released. It's really cool though. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's awesome. I love this. Give me more exotic quests like this. Like, I love the Corridors of Time for Bastion last year. I like Xenophage. And yeah, I guess that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't got a chance to do it yet, have you?
No, I've been trying to finish up Cyberpunk this week, just because, like, I've been spending, I don't want to say too much time, but you know, it's been taking up a lot of my game time. So
it's taking up a lot of my hard drive time.
Yeah, that too. It was it was so nice to just delete something off my hard drive for once, instead of, because, like, I have a 4 terabyte external drive, and then I have the proprietary 1 terabyte drive,
right.
And then obviously the one that's inside. But man, that hard drive stuff fills up so fast.
I was relieved to be able to take Cyberpunk and Valhalla off my hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
That alone freed up about 150 gigs.
Yeah,
which I immediately took back up by downloading Hitman 2 and Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Yeah, and you know, this weekend I am going to do the Hawkmoon, all this Hawkmoon stuff with Mitch, and we're gonna kind of grind through. He got a Series X, by the way. I helped him get one today. It's very exciting. Even though I already have, you know, the 2, like, just helping people get them. It's like that rush, that excitement, because they're still hard to find. It's like, woo, you know?
Yeah. Man, I was on Crossroads this week, and we were talking about, and speaking of hard to find things, we were all lamenting that outside of Laron, nobody has a PS5, and my disappointment was elevated, I think, for the first time today, by realizing I can't play the Resident Evil 8 demo. Since I don't have a PS5, I can play the next demo later on. But, like, this isn't a demo of the actual game. Like, it has the mechanics and stuff, but it's a separate story, apparently. Like, it's a little standalone thing, which I really like. And I'm like, well, that better come to other platforms after this comes out. Like, that's kind of shitty. But I've got thoughts to share about Resident Evil on another show this week.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it on Arsenal X, obviously.
I can't wait, though. Hopefully, I got my stimulus check, and it's shamelessly going to a PS5 after I pay a couple bills. So I plan to get a PS5, Miles Morales, and Returnal here really soon.
Yeah.
And Ghost of Tsushima, the best Assassin's Creed game that Ubisoft never made.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about some PlayStation games lately, especially, like, with the Indiana Jones announcement. Really got me thinking about Uncharted and how I kind of want to play through that original trilogy again. And I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima yet, so I want to play that. And so it's the thing is like I had one in my cart today, a digital one, and I was like, I can't right now. So I'm relieved upon reading today's TWAB, though. That, you know, the confirmation of what is and is not sticking around for the rest of the year in regards to the season.
I don't feel as much pressure to have to be there day one to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be clear, if you and I didn't do a podcast, I probably would peace out of Destiny for like a month or two,
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm trying to get that backlog finally finished. Like, I've got a few Switch games I want to play now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, I got 3 houses for Christmas, and you and I have already talked about my grievances with the Mario trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd really like to play Fire Emblem. I want to get the Fighters Pass for Smash Brothers. Like, there's too much I want to play. Like, I'm getting into Hitman now. I'm debating whether to buy Hitman 3 because I have 1 and 2's level packs.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
I also have Hitman 1 and 2 downloaded on this external drive because, when 3 comes out, like, well, yeah, I'm going to want to play it through that game instead of like these original ones, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot to play, like I was telling you before we started recording, like I finished Cyberpunk and now I have a poll up and it looks like Final Fantasy 7 is gonna win, so like
fun.
I'm gonna try to stream that next week, and it's like, oh geez, I was really pulling for Yakuza to win, but
Like a dragon.
Yeah.
It's
It's not looking good, Josh. I was like, man, I'll put Final Fantasy 7 on here just to, just for shits and giggles, as some would say. And well, I got more shits and giggles, let me tell you. So,
well, Corey, while we're talking about shits and giggles, let's why don't we dive into this TWAB?
Yeah, I guess we could dive into the TWAB, Josh. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a non-Destiny show.
You're good. That was
no,
good
I was
segue.
my
So I was
my
talking about wanting to take a break.
yeah.
and-
My point was like I've kind of taken a little bit of a break from Destiny, aside from like checking in like once a week maybe to do some stuff, but because there's too many other things to do, So
Well, see, Corey, I'm
transition.
glad you said that, because we're going to talk about, first off, right off the bat here, we're going to talk about FOMO, and we're going to talk about what Bungie is trying to do to alleviate it. So things that are going to stick around until the end of year 4. Story missions will be able to be launched from a node in the director.
That's
so
awesome.
That's great. So like all your Crow shit is going to be there. The Osiris mission from the beginning of the expansion, that's all going to be stored there. Love to see that. The Wrathborn hunts are going to stick around. The Adored quest for the sniper, if you've not done that, that will be sticking around. I don't know if that includes the ornaments. I assume that means the ornaments.
I assume that would mean ornaments.
Crow's vendor screen is going to stay on the Tangled Shore. They are addressing that further down. The Hawkmoon,
because of the
because of the cutscene that we got. They're like, yeah, we originally were designing this with the old seasonal model in mind, and they're like, we're taking steps to mitigate that, but he's going to basically show up in 2 places next season 13.
I mean, it's like the Drifter, right? The Drifter is in 2 places, so
right, you'll be able to access Crow's inventory in both spaces. The Hawkmoon exotic quest and the Master activity, which is Harbinger, I believe, will be sticking around. The seasonal seal and the Warden title are available all year. That's probably the big change, because in the past you had to get that done in the season. But the seasonal seal must still be earned by the deadline given on the Bungie rewards page. So I guess that means like if you want to buy the seal, you still have to get it done by the date that they give you, which they've confirmed they are pushing back because there is an issue with the Final Triumph. The one where all 3 players have to complete the Harbinger activity with Hawkmoon equipped.
right.
Things that will no longer be available at the end of the season include Crow's bounties, the seasonal artifact, the season pass, and messages from the field. I don't quite remember what messages the field are, but I think they're just like little white things that you pick up that go to your inventory and you can just delete. They're like little in-game lore pieces you pick up. But the big thing is Crow's repeatables, the seasonal artifact, and the season pass. Which we expected 2 of those 3 things to happen, right? So, big deal. It's going to progress like any other season, except everything else is sticking around. Shifting to more of this content after the season ended created weirdness for Season of the Hunt, which was initially designed using the old model. This is why Crow was still hanging around Spider's Lair right after being unceremoniously kicked out earlier in the season. You'll see other anomalies involving Crow in Season 13 as he'll be moving to a new destination while also remaining on the Tangled Shore to enable Season of the Hunt content tied to his inventory. There is a typo here. It says Season 13, but they mean Season 14. Should avoid these rough edges as its content has been designed from the outset to year 4. So I think this confirms a couple things that we were wondering. How long is the content going to stick around? They said a full year. How long is it? Basically, it means 9 months after the season ends. And this also, to me, this seemingly means that they're going to shift to releasing like in late October, early November expansions from now on. If I was a betting man, I would say the day Festival of the Lost ends is probably when the new expansion will start.
That next season will start.
I think that's
a new expansion. I mean, yeah. I mean, that makes total sense, right? Because like, I don't know. I feel like you kind of have like these holiday events to kind of wraps up some stuff. Like, I think that totally makes sense.
Right.
And
the way that they were originally spaced out, had we not had the Shadowkeep delay, for instance, you've been having Festival of the Lost about 2/3 the way through is when that would have been starting or finishing up. Dawning would have been about 2/3 the way through. Crimson Days would have been towards the beginning with, Revelry or Spring Event at the end. And then, Solstice to close everything out.
Yeah, it seems like...
I think they're going to...
It seems like...
I think Solstice... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it seems like these seasonal events are kind of made to, like, be kind of like filler events in between, like story beats or, content drops for the main season. Like that, I think that's what they're kind of starting to position these as, and I think that makes total sense.
I think it makes total sense. It's something to keep the player base engaged. Those who play this all the time, like this is their main game, this is their MMO. That's cool. I like that. But I also don't feel super pressured to play them. I mean, I played plenty of the Dawning to get my extra Bright Dust because it's the easiest event to get Bright Dust from. Go bake a whole fuck ton of cookies, right? I gave Zavala so many Yaller Doodles. He should be fat right now. He should be walking around like with assistance because he looks like Santa Claus for how many cookies I just fed him. And I like the emphasis they did this year on the cosmetics. Giving away special shaders, giving away old emotes, ships, weapon ornaments, things like that. Like that's what you and I were talking about that with Festival of the Lost. Like that's what we want to see in these events going forward. Stuff that's been out that's gone through at least a season in the Eververse store, like Festival of the Lost 2019 stuff. I want that in 2021. Or stuff that from last year in 2020. Let me have a way to earn that armor, maybe. Hey, if I didn't buy it last year, I'm probably not going to buy it this year either. So why can't I just earn those pieces or something like that? Like give that away in like those community presents. But it actually felt rewarding when people did the community steps, unless you're one of those people who buys everything, in which case you were probably the one bitching online. But the rest of us enjoyed getting free prisms, cores, and ascendant shards out of it. That being said, the next thing that we're going to talk about in terms of padding content for people, there's a change coming to titles. We kind of wondered when they retired a ton of titles for the first time this past year, what was going to happen to some of these going forward, like Dredgen and Unbroken, because you can earn those once, whereas the Grandmaster Nightfall one, which is Conqueror, and Flawless for Trials, you can earn those every season. So Bungie's come up with what I think is a unique way to keep these titles going. All 4 of these are going to be able to be earned every season now, starting with Season 13 in February. What it is what does Gilded mean? So let's explain what Gilded means. So starting in Season 13, if you've completed a seal for one of the core ritual titles, which is Unbroken, Dredgen, Flawless, or Conqueror, you will have a series of additional seasonal objectives to gild the title, which is a series of seasonal objectives, a new border around the seal in the Triumph's UI, A tracker indicating how many times in your career you have gilded a given title, a new color and symbol for the title over your head so you can show off. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
First off, we're gonna get to some examples. They gave us some examples for the flawless one. But I like this. This rewards the people where, again, this is another thing. Like, if this is all you play, you now can grind for these titles again every season. It's gonna get people back into those activities, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you have the opportunity to like get a physical gilded seal, I think people are absolutely gonna. I mean, I'm saying that as someone who's probably gonna go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll go for Dredgen again. That's the only one of those three that I think is remotely attainable for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, we take a look at the flawless one, which is the example to give us. Some of the ones they will have, presumably next season, includes defeat Guardians in Trials matches, win matches while flawless Empyrean emblem is equipped, and the player is holding a 7-win ticket. Exotic flawless package, earn Trials rewards from Saint 14, and carry Guardians their first flawless ticket. In addition to the regular objectives. So the regular objectives will be done, but like those are seasonal ones you would have to work on then. So, and they say when the season is over, the optional gilding objectives will reset and may even change to fit the unique experiences of any season. All the base objectives of the title will be preserved, and your title will revert to its typical purple coloring above your head. I'm very curious to see what this looks like in game, because I'm all about looking like an asshole in Destiny. And I want to be that guy. Like, I want people to see, like how they originally described titles. Like, you're going to see people with these, and you're going to be like, oh, shit, how did they get that? Like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I like being that asshole.
It used to be like that when ornaments were first introduced too. It was like, man, I want that ornament. Yeah. How do I do that? That guy looks cool.
I still have people asking me that. Like, our friend Ray's been getting back into the game, and he saw my armor, and he was like, oh my god, dude, like, how did you get all that? I was like, well, like, a couple of these pieces you can't earn anymore, because it was Iron Banner stuff from year one, and they never put that back in circulation. I was like, some of the rest of this stuff, though, like, it's from armor sets, and like, you can't get the pieces individually. You have to buy the whole $15 pack now. Like, I got it all for Bright Dust because I was playing a ton of Destiny when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have this custom look that I have. Like, I love showing off my raid armor, and you know, like, my girlfriend has seen it, and she's like, oh, how do you get that? Like, some of my Garden of Salvation stuff. I'm like, you got to do the raids.
Yeah.
Like, and with Transmog coming, like, fashion's about to get a massive overhaul.
Right. Because it's literally going to be fashion over function this time, you know?
Yeah, finally we're doing what every other MMO has done after like 6, almost 7 years of this game.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't either. I'm so excited for it.
Oh, man. I wonder how Transmog's going to affect competitive, because you know how, like, when you go into like trials or something,
yeah,
like I mean, I guess you could go in and like go through the menu and stuff, but like the whole thing was like, oh, when you have all the guardians facing each other, you're like, oh, well, he's got this on, he's got this, he's obviously running this subclass, he's got this weapon, you know, like.
So you can't transmog exotic pieces, from what I understand. So there's like no covering that up. And like right now, I mean, like, it shows you on the trials screen, like, it shows you their subclass. I think it shows you their super, or it tells you what super they're using, and it shows you if they're wearing any exotic armor. It lists it there along with their whole loadout. So like, you still get told all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying. I could see people going in and just like, I mean, I've done it myself, like just wearing legendary armor and then throwing my exotic on first match, first round.
Yeah.
And now with like how quickly it loads on console, like, oh, bam, that's a 3-second fix or something, where I'm changing when we're loading in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I can definitely see things like that becoming, but I don't think that it's going to affect the overall layouts too much. I think it's just going to be an excuse to look cool.
Yeah.
I personally look forward to wearing my trials gear, even though I'm not good at trials, but I have almost the entire armor.
I still think the coolest piece of gear in the since Destiny started is the Trials Warlock helmet.
I like the Trials Warlock. I like the I've grown to like the Hunter one a lot. And I like our chest piece because I'm on a mission when transmog happens to have every single piece of armor except for the helmet is gonna have knives on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a firm believer, Bungie. I use Blade Barrage. Give me extra knives if I'm wearing nothing but knives on me. Give me an extra super or something, or like make it recharge quicker. I don't know. Give me some functionality over here. I'm doing this for you. I'm trying to stay in character. But Corey, speaking of functionality, something that we all liked back in Season of Arrivals was the Umbral Ingram.
Yes.
They're coming back, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So Umbral Ingrams will be returning in Season 13 as well as for future seasons this year. The new seasonal activity will always provide the fastest path to earning new rewards. We want to ensure that regardless of how you spend your time in Destiny, Umbral Ingrams will allow you to chase new rewards. You can earn them anywhere, but you can focus on certain activities to earn them. Empire hunts, exo challenges, nightmare hunts, blind well, public events, ordeals, gambit, crucible strikes, and patrols, as well as insert seasonal activity here. They did nerf how many you're going to get because that was one of the major complaints, at least on my end, was I'm getting so many. My entire postmaster was Umbral Ingrams.
I know. I would get I would play for like 2 hours and I'd have 10 in my inventory, and then I had to go to postmaster and get 4 or 5 of them out, and I don't know. I would just have to dismantle the low light level.
I stopped turning them in.
Yeah,
I had all my, especially with how long the season was, I had all my rolls like a month or two in. And I have a feeling I'm going to feel the same way about this. It's just going to be like, God, please just clear them out for me or make them quicker to delete or something. While it was fun to watch Umbral Ingrams rain down on players in Season 11, drop rates were higher than expected, so we're rebalancing this. There will be a short quest to show players how to use the new Prismatic Recaster to focus the Umbral Ingrams, and the quest is account-wide, so you only have to do it once. It will return as a kiosk with the capability to charge Ingrams into focused Umbral Ingrams, which contain a smaller loot table. Because Umbral Ingrams are here to stay, the new recaster will have different pages for each season, and you will be able to focus Ingrams to the season of your choice. That is a godsend to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing that. Because how often did we do something last season and it's like, all right, I'm grinding for one specific weapon, but I have to choose from a pool of 3 or 4 weapons until I get the exact, I buy the specific thing. I don't want to upgrade this sucker every single season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a chance I probably won't even touch this initially because I have the rolls I want of everything right now from Arrivals and from this season. Once you have used the recaster to focus Ingrams, you will still need to take it to the decoder to claim your new reward. Season of the Hunt's Wrathborn rewards will not be featured on the recaster in Season 13 because players can still use the lure-specific weapons and rolls. So I guess all you can pull are things from Season of Arrivals, maybe from the new seasonal activity for 14. I don't really know how they're going to approach this. But I am curious to find out. And then we have a new way to unlock focusing options for your Ingrams through a new reward called Prismatic Lenses. Prismatic Lens will unlock a new focusing option so you can target specific armor stats and a narrower collection of gear. You will earn these by doing various activities in the game, and you can track your progress towards unlocking lenses at the recaster. We don't want to spoil everything, though, so we'll let you discover how to start earning these next season. That's the kind of functionality that we've wanted, though. It was such a kick in the dick to go from the recaster to go from the sundial. Heck, even the Rasputin bunkers in terms of rewards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the one thing I think they did right in that season. And then to go to this season with the lure is clunky, it's annoying. I hate the interface of it. I don't even want to do it most of the time, frankly. There's nothing to chase. The weapons just simply aren't that good. They're outclassed in every single category, like pretty heavily. So here's hoping there's better loot next season and that they figure out something to do other than just Season of Arrivals gear, because that's going to be really fun. That's all that's in there. Like, we all have a million gnawing hungers at this point. We don't need more.
Yeah. I hope they change it up. I mean, I think they will, right? Like, I mean, I think
Dude, I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, Josh. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Other than that, I mean, we just there's some known issues here. We had a patch earlier this week, which the notable damage to that, I think we mentioned it last week, is you can no longer cheese the Sparrow race at the beginning of the Deepstone Crypt raid.
Yeah, that's sad.
You have to do it legit, which I'll have you note, I did it legit day one and blew up at the final bubble because I didn't realize there were 2 mechs there when I kamikazed my way down. So I had to our friend Nerd Generalist actually figured out that you could be invincible, so we sent him ahead to deal with everything. Oh. We didn't know that you could actually do it until the next day. There is one final note here at the bottom that I want to read.
Is it
Oh, go ahead. What?
Oh, I was going to say, is it the Halo stuff?
No.
Oh.
It's about the state of the game, though. They're addressing this because over the Christmas break, the community, particularly on Twitter and on Reddit, got very, very upset and did not understand why Bungie was not fixing things over Christmas break. Particularly the PvP player base is very upset right now. People are swearing, oh, there's not enough content, there's not enough to do. And I get that this year is a little different. I've said it a couple times on this show. If I wasn't unemployed, it would have taken me a lot longer to get through stuff in Beyond Light. I'd probably still be working through some of it now. I mean, hell, I still have things to do on Europa. I haven't done a Master or a Legend Nightfall yet. Lost Sector all the way through yet. Other than cheesing the ending, the one day it was available in the Cosmodrome. I still need to hunt the penguin statues. I still need to do the scanner fragments. I haven't done a Grandmaster at all this season, or ever. I've just kind of been hanging out. I've been kind of chilling. And the people who are complaining that, oh, I've done it. I mean, I still want to do the challenges in the raid. I want to get Isaac tomorrow. I need a trustee. I don't have the scout rifle from the raid yet, and I'm very upset after 13 completions. I still don't have it.
I would really like to run the raid again at some point.
I want to run it. I want to get the rest of my challenges done. I'm like 8 triumphs away from finishing the seal.
I want to
really like to get that seal.
I want to get my gauntlets, and I want to get my what am I missing? The chest piece, I think.
The only piece I'm missing at this point is the chest piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to get that. But I mean, there's still plenty of content to do there. And like, if you're a content creator, I get why you're going, oh, there's just not enough. I'm just not excited.
Yeah, but if you play this game like 200 hours in like 3 weeks, like, of course you're going to run out of stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like,
right. If you're one of those guys who was like level 200 by the end of like week 2 or 3, which was a thing that we were seeing, then you're probably one of the ones who's complaining. I'm not going to sit here and say that Bungie has done everything perfectly, because there are a lot of things that need to be fixed. There frankly are. And we're seeing a progression, though, when they said they're trying to alleviate the FOMO and have Destiny be a game that you can feel comfortable leaving for a month or 2 at a time and then coming back to. With the seasonal model, we're seeing that here.
They've always said that, though. I mean,
they've always said that, but they're making it easier than ever now, because the last year the seasonal content did not transfer over like it had in Shadow or in Forsaken.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit annoying. It was like, oh shit, and there was something almost every week. Like, I gotta log in and play Destiny. Like, I gotta neglect other games. I gotta come do it. And then like Season of Arrivals happened, and we got the delay. After like week 9, you were like, oh my god, I've got this in the Moments of Triumph's done. I can just chill for a couple months. And I'm kind of in that mode now. Like, I've chilled for a couple weeks outside of popping in to do. I played more Destiny at Reset this week, and I played a pretty fair amount of PvP yesterday. That's the most Destiny I've played probably since Christmas. And it felt great. I was coming back after about a month off. I loved it. that's the feeling I should have coming back. I should feel refreshed and not like, oh God, I hate my life. This is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to alleviate the FOMO now. That's one of the big complaints. But I want to pull up this conversation I was having with our friend A1 Johnny this afternoon. He and I share a lot of the same thoughts, and some of the stuff he was sharing with me after reading this, because what this note later goes on to say is, we don't want to lean too far into the "we're listening" meme, but it's 100% true. We take community feedback to heart and are considering community concerns and suggestions as we continue to evolve plans for 2021 and beyond. Joe Blackburn tweeted on the 19th this week, on Tuesday, that last year I said Destiny's best days are ahead. Seeing what's coming, I believe that more than ever, but we have a lot of work to do to get there. 2021 is going to be a little different for Destiny, taking time to validate our plans, but expect a State of Destiny 2021 next season. People have been asking for this since like 2 weeks after Beyond Light came out, primarily due to how overpowered Stasis is. I personally think a State of the Game is a little overdue. I think we needed one before Beyond Light, but I'm glad that they're doing it now, and I'm glad it's not Luke Smith. I love Luke. I'm glad Luke is not the one trotting this out, that they are having other people get involved in this process, because Reddit every other day seems to be calling for Luke Smith's head. Like, he needs to be fired. He needs to be cut loose. He's ruined this franchise. Like, no, he hasn't. Please take your Kool-Aid and go sit in the other room. Like, the adults are talking. Please go. I don't know. Go play Minecraft, or not that Minecraft is a bad game, but like go play your Black Ops or your Minecraft or something like that. Like, let the adults do the talking, and then we'll invite you back into the room when you can act mature.
Yeah.
But I do like that they're saying this. And they say at the very end. Cosmos says at the very end, we still have more stuff to lay out over in the coming weeks, because we are 2 TWABs away from the next season dropping. Regardless of your feelings about this game, their communication, can be lacking at times, but you can't say the community managers are not deeply invested in this community.
Yeah.
Cosmo, Damage, Griffin does a lot. There's a lot going on over there. Like, we're all still struggling with this work from home stuff. Like, they probably will not be back in the studio until about the time that we're getting the reveal of the Witch Queen.
Yeah. I mean, even maybe not even by then, I mean,
right. Optimistically, probably not until then. And that marks 16, that would mark 16 months for Bungie working from home. They started working from home before anybody else in February of 2020. We've seen the challenges that go into trying to launch a AAA game like this. I talked about this on both Crossroads and on Arsenal X this week, that you're going to see a lot more delays. Hogwarts Legacy getting punted to next year. As Jason Schreier says, that's the first one he's heard, that we've all heard it's going to get punted. He's like, there are rumblings of a lot more. Like, you are going to hear more of these get punted. We were all expecting, I think it's a sort of mini delay, but I think we'd all been expecting Resident Evil Village in like early to mid-March, and that's now an early game. Wouldn't be shocked to see that get pushed a little bit. That one's insulated because they announced it so far in advance and had an in-engine trailer. Ratchet & Clank no longer has a release date. Horizon is presumed to be the big fall game for Sony. Gran Turismo is still undated.
I'm sure God of War will get pushed.
Oh, God of War is absolutely going to get pushed to 2022. What Nintendo or Microsoft is doing right now.
Nintendo doesn't have. You can already see Nintendo's delays, right? With the 3D All Stars was supposed to come out last summer. Pikmin was supposed to come out last summer. Pokemon Snap was supposed to be like their kind of their 1-2 punch with Hyrule Warriors last year. And it's coming out April now.
I imagine 3D World was probably supposed to be out last fall initially with Bowser's Fury. There's a lot of things. I mean, even if you're just talking about delaying something like 3 months, that's 3 months. Like, you are going to see a lot more. Like, these are games that were mostly done or that were ports that we're talking about. Like, we're not even getting into the nitty gritty of games that entered their main development stage, aka
Mm-hmm.
God of War, during all of this.
Mm-hmm. Mass Effect was supposed to come out in October, right?
Halo got punted an entire year.
Yeah. So.
Like like as we're
Outriders.
talking here, Outriders has had 2 delays now. It was supposed to be out last fall, and then February, and now beginning of April on April Fools.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be shocked to see that one get pushed again, but we'll have to wait for the open beta to see how that goes.
I'm just looking at the Game Informer release date
While
calendar
we're
for
talking
2021.
right now, even I just had a tweet come up on my screen that movies are still starting. James Bond just got pushed again
To
back
October.
to October.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's new movie, Last Night in Soho, got pushed to October as well, I believe.
I mean, the Batman got pushed 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And I mean, like, these are movies that are done, too. Like, so that shows, like, nobody is confident that we're going to be back to normal anytime soon. And it's just, games are only so insulated from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, had we not had COVID, it's possible that like Monster Hunter Rise comes out last fall with Age of Calamity and Pokemon Snap or something. We don't know what the exact plans were for some of these, but I guarantee you that's why we didn't hear about Resident Evil 4 Remake today. Guarantee you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all know it's happening, but why bother announcing it if you're probably gonna have to push it at least 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Work on it in secret and then let it come out. We're seeing this, like, major expansions are coming out with issues, and a live service game is a unique problem to have, I think, because you're not only trying to develop new content for seasons, but you're trying to develop a major expansion and keep the game running, patching it, etc. It's all while not being able to be in the same room as your coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, not to give Bungie a pass or anything, I think the way that Final Fantasy 14, Rainbow Six Siege, like, I think the way a lot of these live Apex, Fortnite, like, are all still pulling this off is nothing short of miraculous, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Like I have a hard enough time keeping everybody in the loop doing, a couple podcasts a week, let alone developing a game would be like, it's insane. It's insane.
It is. It is insane. I want to share this stuff from John, though, to get back to my original point, of things that we feel like they really need to address in this state of the game. And this is the big one. I've beaten this drum a lot. I know Nerd Generalist did the last time he was on with us at our end recap, things we wanted to see this year.
Mm-hmm.
Crucible overhaul. Change systems to make Crucible more rewarding, and obviously, other than new maps, introduce some new game modes. Bring back things like Rift, Skirmish, Combined Arms, which is the mode with vehicles. Do things like that. Do these big, unique things. Do some timed modes. And I agree with that. I think the rotating ones should be the fun modes.
Mm-hmm.
Those should be things like, we get those occasionally. Like, I don't think Clash should be in the rotating. Clash should probably always be up, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, control it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaningful additions and changes to the core Strike playlist. There's no need to play them other than to slog through the leveling, which is true. I cannot tell you the last time I did Vanguard Strikes or that I did a Nightfall. It's probably been at least a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I've made it really clear. I'm tired of doing the same stuff after 4 years. Like, I'm just done. And I know, like, that's part of the gameplay loop. Like, and that's part of the struggle, I think, is we all hit that point in Destiny 1 as well. We're tired of these strikes. Like, I'm hoping that with Fallen Saber and Devil's Lair coming back next month, that'll inject some much needed life. Like, I'll be excited to do those again, frankly.
I mean, you know what I really miss that I can't believe they haven't brought back in some form or like a version of it is Prison of Elders. Prison of Elders.
If I was a betting man, I think Prison of Elders will end up being a seasonal thing.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be Prison of Elders. It can be something else, right, some other wave-based thing, right? Because, like, obviously with Forsaken, that changes everything about the prison. But, like, I just feel like that was such a fun activity. I feel like when I would jump on for, like, a half hour or an hour and do 2 rounds of that, it's like, oh, well, I accomplished something. And I got this cool, auto rifle. I got some cool armor. Like,
Well, and I think they've tried to do like a next generation version of that in a lot of ways with things like Escalation Protocol and Blind Well.
mhm,
It being wave based and having bosses, and I mean, there's ways to trigger heroics on those. I mean, we have a special set of armor tied to Escalation Protocol along with guns. Like, I think that's how they should do it going forward. It should be a free roam thing that you come across, and people jump in to join you. I don't know if we necessarily need matchmaking for it. I think that dilutes the player base even more. But I do agree we need some sort of horde mode every year.
mhm. Yeah. Speaking of delays, the Uncharted movie just got pushed to next February.
It's going to get pushed again after that too, I bet.
Yeah. So.
He had one more thing on here. Sorry, family thing. Change to the leveling treadmill. Something needs to be smoother out here. John plays more than anybody I know. Anybody I know personally. And he's exhausted at the idea of leveling his light level again at the beginning of next season. I think this is a typo. He said 250, but it's definitely only 50 next season.
Mm-hmm.
And then last note, he says, I'm all for sunsetting, so I get why we need to keep leveling for that system to work, and everybody wants to progress, but it could be a way easier thing to do if we need to do it every 3 months to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Sunsetting is the other major thing that people are wanting addressed. I don't want them necessarily undoing it because most of us have deleted so many guns at this point that to undo that would just be a gigantic slap in the face to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think the steps they took regarding the Dreaming City and the Moon were good steps, but they weren't enough. I think just at this point, what's the harm in letting the entire loot pool be available for the whole time that an expansion is available?
Yeah.
What's the harm in that?
Yeah.
Like, how many of us are really using moon weapons anyways, but like, say with a tweak to a season, something suddenly becomes meta, like Loud Lullaby is actually useful now as a 120 hand cannon, but you can't drop it at our appropriate level, so it's useless in comp and in trials.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not one of the chosen 4 to come forward.
Right.
Like, I think we need to do that. Like, them adding powerfuls and, unique weapon perks to the Shattered Throne and to Pit of Heresy, that's great. Like, dungeons are endgame content. They should have that. They should have their own. What's the harm in going back and maybe patching in some armor sets or something?
Right.
Like, I think there's a lot of things you could do here, and I'd like to see them evolve that going forward. I don't know if we necessarily need to go back and do it in old ones, but definitely going forward, I think every dungeon needs to be styled like Prophecy in terms of loot drops.
Mm-hmm.
Have a couple secret chests in there. Have 2 armor sets. I'm well aware one of them is only in there because they took it out of Eververse for that season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Something like that. Like, we're starting to see them getting there on the cosmetics. Let's get there on the actual weapons and armor now.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like in theory the sunsetting stuff is a good idea to push people forward and towards new things, but like they just haven't figured it out yet. And like, yeah, I mean, you know way better than I do about this, but like, I just like, how do you fix this? How do you make, like, I don't know. Because like one of the things I've been saying online too is like, people are complaining, why are you sunsetting stuff just to put it back in the loot pool as like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that was the thing I was questioning with the Prophecy dungeon, right? Was like they took the Escalation Protocol weapons and put them in the Prophecy dungeon, in the shotgun especially. It was like, that's the only way you can get the shotgun. And it's like, well, why is this shotgun different from the Prophecy dungeon shotgun? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am completely a proponent of dungeons having not just unique weapon perks, but unique weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as I'm concerned, like that's a baby raid.
Mm-hmm.
That is end game content. That's not something you're going to blow through in 15 minutes. Like, you're going to spend, even if you know everything to do in a dungeon, you're probably still going to spend about 35-40 minutes going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you deserve to be rewarded for your time, not just with a powerful reward, but some unique armor, unique mod. I'd love to see some unique mods drop in.
Yeah, like, why not?
Like, Yeah,
I mean, we saw it in the raid. Like, why can't we get
right.
like a dungeon
make
mod?
them usable across all dungeons, and you can only use them in dungeons, raids, and grandmasters or something like that. Like, it has to be in pinnacle PvE.
Well, you could. I mean, you could just do tiered things. Like, you could okay,
Yeah.
there's raid mods, but then there's also like Nightfall and dungeon mods. I think could be in like one category, right? Like, you could do some really unique things, and like, I don't know. I just feel like they just haven't figured it out yet. But I don't know if it's just taking a while to implement. Still, like, I know they made changes to their engine, but like, is it still taking that long to implement some of these changes?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that part of that does come down to work from home. Like, we've seen the back end changes that they made already start to take a big effect. You know, and they are listening. Like, they're telling us their plans for beginning next season. Like, people are mad they can't enact it like today, and it's how many of you that are asking for this are actually going to go back to the Dreaming City or back to the moon to hunt these weapons? I'm going to guess almost none of you. Like, I'm going to go for a blasphemer and an apostate because I like both of those weapons. I'll probably get another premonition because it's a good pulse, but I'm not going back to getting any of the Dreaming City weapons. I don't like any of those weapons.
Yeah,
that they have.
I mean, if I'm gonna go hunt down weapons, I would rather like treat my time wisely and like
yeah.
I would rather run the raid with you to get you trusty or something. You know what I mean? Like, instead of going back to these. And I know that that's two totally different things. Like, you could go to these.
If it was weapons I wanted, like that fit my playstyle or that fit the meta, sure, I'd be out there grinding for them. Let's go do it. But I think this accentuates a bigger problem, and I really hope that when Witch Queen comes out, they don't immediately do this to the Europa shit and go, well, that's done with now. Like, no. If it's in a raid, if it's obtainable in a raid, a Grandmaster, or in an expansion, it should be there until that content is no longer there, and then that's when your sunset timer kicks in on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
no, I agree with you.
I don't know. Like, short of saying, oh, every weapon works again and we're just going to take sunsetting out, which, again, I think would create a bigger problem than not.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate seeing people go like, well, really all they needed to do was just get rid of Recluse, Mountaintop, Beloved, and whatever the other one was, Revoker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, if they had just gotten rid of those four, we would have been fine. Like, that's not the point.
Yeah,
the point is they knew they fucked up and they're trying to undo that, but in doing so, it kind of fucked up the economy.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, something's got to happen now. Like, I know personally, I would rather see older weapons be reissued before seeing any weapons that just got sunset come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put weapons that never had random perks in first.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's move. Then you can move to the other stuff. Like, maybe by then you figured out a solution, or hey, we can pull anything. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't really think I have anything else constructive to say about that. It just kind of, it sucks that there's still a loot problem. You know, it just sucks. And like, it doesn't seem like. Yeah, it just seems like there's different loot problems now. You know, I mean,
there are like there's so many ways to get everything, which was the problem for the longest time, right? Like, you can pick your loot now, essentially, which I love. No other shooter really does that, but there's not enough that we actually care to keep grinding out these engrams or these recasters or lures or whatever you want to, whatever the seasonal terminology is this time.
Right.
It's just, it's a yeah. That's all I've got to say on it.
Yeah, I don't have anything else constructive to say about it either.
And I'm still curious if the Vault of Glass is coming back next season or not. Like, you know, that's gonna. I'm not having those raids. I see people go like, oh, well, there's not enough raids in this game, so that's my main thing that I do. It's like, bitch, you were not playing the Leviathan raids. Nobody was playing those before they gave a season of the raid. Not a single soul was playing those.
Right.
Do I wish that the raids, there is, as of right now, there is no reason for the Leviathan to be gone. Not a single reason.
No.
We could have left those raids in there.
Yeah.
And just gotten rid of, been like,
Leviathan, they got rid of Leviathan simply for file size reasons, I feel like.
Which is fine. That's the whole reason why they did sunsetting to begin with, right? Like, they just happened to be able to make a story-related reason, which isn't really holding up a whole lot, right? And I really hope they expand upon more going forward, because, like, what are you going to do? Sunset Earth eventually? Like,
right.
Come on. Like, you're going to tell me I can't travel back to the moon? Like, there are certain... I mean, that was already weird that we couldn't go to the moon in Destiny 2.
I mean, you have to imagine all these destinations are coming back in some kind of weird compressed form.
That
anyway.
wasn't the solution in the Red War, was just to say, we're regrouping on the moon, guys. That wasn't the solution. Let that sink in for a minute. We went to Titan, which is infested by the Hive. We got Cade trapped in a Vex prison, essentially, and Ikora went into seclusion with Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Like, what the fuck went through y'all's minds to say for 3 years, we're not going to the moon? Come on, man. Really? You didn't just go somewhere else on Earth? You didn't go like, let's go to the Cosmodrome and hang out. Let's go to old Chicago. No, we're just going to leave the planet entirely. Because they control, like, this 200 square mile part of it.
Like, you couldn't just go halfway around.
That's a whole nother gripe, but come on.
You couldn't just go halfway around the world, right? Like, just to...
Right.
I mean...
Honestly, it's irresponsible. Yeah.
Man,
I
Josh.
don't like it. I can't do it, Corey. Can't do it. But I do have some lore for us tonight.
That's great. I want to hear some lore. I've been waiting for this lore for 2 weeks. As I'm staring at the Bungie store looking at the Destiny Legends Cade statue for $350.
Wait, what?
The Cade Legends statue is on the Bungie store.
I haven't seen it.
I will.
Guys, I'm pulling up the Bungie store.
Yeah, it's under collectibles. Where is it?
Oh shit! They have a lot of stuff on here now. I am copying that Hawkmoon shirt.
Hold on, I'm sending you the link to the page in your little message chat here.
Ugh.
There you go.
Guys, we're taking a break to see what I'm going to spend my stimulus check on.
Still recording. This is all live. It's happening live.
I know. We're taking a break from Lore Corner. Oh, holy fucking shit.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool? Really dope. And I cannot in any way, shape, or form justify $350.
I know. It's cool though, isn't it?
Oh, and he's holding A's. Oh no!
This is I think this is the Forsaken one, right? This is him in the prison because there's one
he's
of the
he's stepping on one of the barons.
Yeah.
Oh my Jesus Christ! Nope. Nope. I gotta get off this page.
You know what's cool though? It's just as tall. It's just like an inch taller than the stranger statue, so they would actually go together. They would actually fit.
So the stranger statue, I think, is the better bang for your buck because that sucker is $70 and is super detailed.
Yeah.
I
want this
I
do
want
so
to get
bad,
this.
though.
I want to get this little jade rabbit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's so cool though. Oh.
Chelsea said she ordered me some stuff from the store, and I'm like a little afraid to find out what it is. Because she won't tell me what it is. I just saw the charge on our credit card, and I was like, when the hell did you spend like $90 at the Bungie store? And she's like, you don't need to know. It's for Valentine's Day. And I'm like, I don't even know what would add up on here that we would be getting. Like, what? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to move on to Lore Corner.
Are you talking about this little $24 Jade Rabbit?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool looking too.
Yeah, I want it. I've resisted buying it for like a year now.
Well, it's currently unavailable, so...
It's on what?
It's unavailable.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
So you resisted long enough.
I resisted long enough to have it be right out of stock, which typically happens.
I want that. I want that Cade so bad, but yeah, right. My wife would murder me if I. Dude,
Chelsea would kill me if I got it. She's let me buy a lot of ridiculous things, but that's because I keep them under triple digits.
Yeah.
If I were to tell her I'm buying a $350 Cade 6 statue before she gets her couch, she would kill me.
Just say it comes with the couch.
Yay.
All right, let's get to some of this lore.
All right, so we're going back to we're continuing our little series on Cade 6. This is probably going to be the last week that we read from Cade, because I imagine we're going to get some promo lore by next week.
Some juicy bits.
Yeah, some juicy bits. We're gonna read two selections here. Are we only gonna do two? Yeah, we'll do two this week. We'll do two next week. This first one is called Foal. Ever heard of Andal Brask? You should have. One of the old heroes. Before Black Gardens and Hive Gods and that cabal-shaped mess we just cleaned up? Yeah, he was something. Hunter part of the Vanguard before yours truly. More importantly, he was my friend. A brother, even. Andal and I used to run with one heck of a crew. This was before he got himself roped into fire teaming up with the top brass. Oh, we were legendary. Ran scouting parties looking for survivors to lead back to the city, mapped lost sites where old tech or supplies might still be worth the salvage, hunted plenty of fallen, never an easy task, especially in the early days. By early days, I mean my early days. A lot of Guardians been around longer than me, but even in my newborn new life, the city had a lot of growing up to do, and us Guardians had a hell of a lot to learn. Trouble is, we only ever seem to learn the hard way. The Red War. That time Crota woke up cranky and slapped around more Guardians than I can count. The Twilight Gap. All the bad that happened before my time. The Iron Lords and their tussle with Siva. The Six Fronts. And those are just the headline grabbers. So many lessons learned, so many lives lost, but in truth, I've always felt it's the day-to-day struggles where we learn the most about the world and about ourselves. Being inside the city walls, sure, we're reminded of what we're fighting for, but outside the walls, it puts a face to all we've lost. Puts a reality to how far we've fallen. Abandoned roads, crumbling cities, ruin, and rust. But if the city gives us reason to fight for the now, those old dead places always give me hope for tomorrow. Rusted, broken skeletons or not, if you squint, you can see all we were and all we can be. That's why when Andal left the road and joined the Vanguard, me and the crew hoped he'd get the others, Osiris, Zavala, even the Speaker, to see what we saw. The city was a refuge, yeah, but if we hid too long, let all we'd lost get picked apart by pirates and warmongers, we'd lose our humanity, just like we lost Andal. Andal Brask was killed by Tannix. We've been over this the last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Killed by Tannix, and that's what led Cade to having to take up the dare, to having to be the Hunter Vanguard. And led to his literally lifelong obsession with hunting Tannix. And it's kind of amusing that we still have to kill Tannix a final time after Cade's death.
Right.
I like this because it talks about needing to protect the city, but that you can't get the true perspective of what you're fighting for until you're out in the wild. And I think that's funny because so many of us, like myself included, have been forever have been like, I want to explore the city. I want to see what I'm fighting for. This is basically telling you, like, you don't need to see the city. You can look down on it from the tower, but get your ass out there. There's work to do.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, Cade's one of the very few people, I think, that has ever truly understood what it means to be not just a hunter, but a guardian. He's one of the few that actually, like, grasps that. And this next one is called Flop. I play nice with the Vanguard now, but it wasn't always that way. Not that we were enemies, we just tended to see things through a different lens. But Andal, playing nice was his forte. He was always more, I think, diplomatic is the word. Our big play back in the day was get the Vanguard to loosen their leash. Let us explore, let us lead a new era of expansion. And the riches of the system would be ours. Ours as in everybody's, of course, though we'd get our own cut. In hindsight, we were way too ambitious. Didn't see it in that light at the time, but then again, you never do. When Andal joined the Vanguard, he was our inside man. It was a sweet deal. He would drop intel on new stashes or fallen movements, and Shiro and I would jump the gun, hit him first, claim what we could, deliver the rest to the city. Maybe we skimmed a little off the top. Nothing excessive, just a finder's fee. Probably shouldn't be putting all this out there for anyone to judge. What's the statute on limitations on misspent youth? Whatever, long time ago. But it speaks to what I'm getting at. I always tried to do right, even if I occasionally got sidetracked. Andal joining the Vanguard was a gift in some ways and a bummer in others. More importantly, he'd made a deal, given his word to me and to himself when he took the dare. I won, he lost. So he left the road, joined the bigwigs up in the Vanguard, and he reminded me of a lesson I've always known, but every now and then would forget. You give your word, you keep it. But the longer Andal was up in that tower, caged, my word, never his, the more he saw things the Vanguard way. Looking back, he was only ever doing the right thing. Seeing him change, and in truth grow as a guardian and as a person. I never admitted this, but I thought less of him. My best friend, my closest ally. All because he stuck to his word, accepted the dare, and even when he came up on the bad end, he never wavered from doing exactly what he said he'd do. Join the damn Vanguard. Leave me and Shiro to have all the fun. I thought he was a sucker. Turns out the only sucker was me. So it's pretty clear, like, you know, as we read more of these, like, these are Cade's memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
This is the man who they called Cade. We get this book and unlock it after Cade's death. We unlock it throughout the campaign of Forsaken. I like the little nods that we get to the universe in here about, like, you know, they were mapping lost years essentially that we then find. That's kind of the hint that's given to us here. But really giving an insight to Cade's psyche and really like that of whoever becomes the Hunter Vanguard. Like, I think that sets us up in a really prime way for the Crow to take that mantle. Whether it's that or, and we'll talk about this one next week, because I think I'm finally ready to have this discussion about Crow possibly being the next speaker.
Mm-hmm. That's been a theory floating around.
Yeah, we brought it up briefly at the end of last year, and I said I didn't want to talk about it until the new year because I really wanted to I wanted to think on it. I wanted to do some reading, come to a conclusion, and spoiler alert, I definitely think that it's in the cards. Mm-hmm. It's much more plausible than the Ikora is going to be the next speaker theory that's been floated for like 3 years.
Yeah.
But
I think it's more likely Ikora leaves the Vanguard than it does become the next speaker.
I think the Vanguard is going to fracture irreparably mm-hmm. by the end of this year, mm-hmm. and it'll be further accented by the Witch Queen. Mm-hmm. Not to get too far off task here, but Paul Tassi on Forbes had a really good article the other day saying that a Dark Guardian is the perfect enemy for us to have to go up against in the future, and he proposed Dark Anna Bray from the Exo Stranger's future mm-hmm. that we were reading about a few weeks ago. And the more I think about it, the more I think that if that happens, it's gonna be during the Witch Queen. Mm-hmm. I do think that's when, you know, Eris's story will likely come to an end finally. Mm-hmm. If that is when we take down both of the Hive sisters, that storyline, the Crota and Oryx storyline, will finally be finished off. Mm-hmm. Even though I thought for a long time Savathun would be one of the ultimate final enemies. I could even see the Veil being introduced with the Witch Queen. Mm-hmm. You gotta have something. If the Hive aren't going to be as important anymore, you gotta have something to take that place.
Right.
And if that's going to be your final enemy type, go for it. Mm-hmm. There's so much you can do with these characters, and I agree. I think, especially with the introduction of Stasis, like, it's high time that we have to fight some of these guys. Mm-hmm. Like we've already seen, you know, in the Empire Hunts, for example, and with Aramis, them using the very powers that we can use, throwing them against us. Like, okay, we're not getting ice axes thrown at us, but we're getting frozen. We're getting hit with grenades, with ice blasts. You know, a mini Winter's Wrath in a lot of ways. Like, right. You're getting hit with some of this. Like, what if you had to fight a Dark Guardian? You know, one that fell to stasis, because all else he says is that we didn't go down that path. We don't know how many Guardians are going to be corrupted ultimately by this.
Right.
And there's very clearly some stuff still to happen on Europa
Now,
with the ziggurat and whatnot.
I have questions about the Veil. Like, what's the rumor? What is the rumor about the Veil?
So the rumor about the Veil is there was a 5th race that was planned for Destiny 1 and that was cut, and it was supposed to be a race of darkness. Most of us assumed this was the Taken.
Mm-hmm.
But from what we've come to understand, it was never the Taken, because the Taken are really reskinned enemies.
Right.
Like the Scorn and like Siva enemies.
Right.
They just they act and behave differently with different powers, but they're functionally still like Scorn are still technically X Fallen.
Right.
And the Taken are X everything.
Right.
So the Veil was intended to be a living embodiment of the darkness, from what I understand. Like, there is concept art out there from, I don't remember if it's from Destiny 1 or Destiny 2, of a home world of the darkness. And it's one of the fucking creepiest things I've seen in Destiny. Like, if we go there, I'm going to be terrified. It's like an entire planet that's like, imagine that the Dreadnought was clean. And then imagine that as a planet.
Is it this one with like the
should be like some statues around, I believe.
Statues with like some green glowing underneath, like
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
And I mean, as we've seen with Europa, there is no stature on how far back they'll reach into the concept art to bring a concept or a planet forward.
Right. Because
I think
Europa is literally the first image they ever released. It was the Fallen Walker with the not the captain, the Vandal walking next to it was in a snowy planet. It was Europa. Like, it's literally the first page of the Destiny 1 art book.
I am extremely excited to see if we go there, since they're swearing that, oh, we're not unvaulting a destination this fall, but the way it was phrased made it sound like, oh, we're not unvaulting one of the things we just vaulted, but there's still hint room for the Dreadnought, hint.
Yeah, like, I feel like the Dreadnought makes the most sense, especially if, you know what I mean?
Does.
Like, especially like, okay, if you're going to introduce a raid with the Witch Queen, and then you could bring back, unvault the Taken King or the King's Fall at some point, and you know what I mean? Just like they're doing with Vault of Glass. Like, right. That just makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. Like, I know it's kind of got off the beaten path of Lore Corner, but I guess the speculation second. I don't know what else you do beyond that.
Yeah.
And that's a good problem to have, I think. Like, it's so open-ended. Like, the gameplay or the loot and like the issues with stasis may be problems that we're going to talk about. The playlist problems, which we've brought up numerous times now.
Mm-hmm.
But the lore, I firmly believe, has never been better, and it's never been more accessible. The pages that you get from doing the Hawkmoon quests and that you get from doing the triumphs related to those missions unlock a lore book that talks about Uldren finding Spider for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's one hell of a thing. I don't, what else do you do at that point, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
But that's going to wrap Lore Corner for this week. We'll do our final installment of Cade next week.
Cool. We did receive a question this week.
We did. I want to read the question this week. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let me see, where'd it go? I had sent you a screenshot of it. I'm just looking through it right now. That's not it. That's way too high.
I have it.
Okay. You read it then, because I can't find it.
So this is pretty long, but this comes to us, I believe, from George. First of all, just wanted to say thanks a lot for creating such a great casual Destiny podcast. Hearing people passionately talking about Destiny and being productive on the flaws in the game is so much more refreshing than some of the toxic Reddit threads, so thank you for that. Thank you for the kind words, George. We appreciate it. We love doing this.
Yeah.
On to my question. First of all, for some background, I'm a pretty new player to Destiny and only got into it properly in Beyond Light Drop. I've been loving playing. I'm up to 200 hours already. As much as I enjoy the game's story missions and lore, I feel like there are major story points that are easily missed in the new player experience, and it leaves characters lacking in depth, at least from a new player's perspective. This is particularly an issue for characters like Ikora, Hawthorne, and Osiris, since they mainly just hang out at the tower and only get involved briefly. I know Cyrus has a bigger role in Season of the Hunt, but that is more focused on Crow and his character development, and it's treated as if we already know who Osiris is, which new players won't. So essentially my question is, are there some major story points from previous seasonal content or Destiny 1 that would help players understand the importance of these characters in the grand scheme of things? The game is set up very well for introducing new characters to core mechanics, and Deepstone Crypt is an amazing first-rate experience, but it feels like it lacks a little depth on events before Forsaken for people new to the game. Apologies for the long questions. Thanks for keeping me entertained every week. Corey, I want to know what you think about this first, and then I'll give my wordier answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a few thoughts on this. I think Destiny 2 in general, like if you jumped into Destiny 2 without playing Destiny 1, you're gonna need a lot of catching up to do, especially on like, you know, who Zavala is, who Cade is, especially if you're playing Forsaken. Like, you know, if you just jumped into this through Beyond Light, and if you like, say you're playing through Game Pass and you just jumped in with Beyond Light, and you didn't like, if you just go into Forsaken, right, and not knowing anything previous to Destiny, right, like, oh, here's this cool looking character, he's taking a bunch of guys out, but then he dies. Like, who is the significance of this character? And I mean, like, we're covering Cade in our lore corner right now, but like, if you play Forsaken first, you don't have any idea who Cade is and why is it significant, right? I think you can go into Destiny 2 without you playing Destiny 1 and be fine. There are some things, like, especially once we get into the Witch Queen and like how much does Crota and Oryx play into the next expansion. Beyond Light, like this, I mean, if we're going to talk about Beyond Light real quick, like the Stranger, right?
Yeah.
The Stranger, vanilla Destiny 1, like that was the character that they sort of kind of focused on, right? Like, and we haven't seen her since, but now we know who she is and, you know, what her purpose is and everything. Osiris, like if you didn't play, you know, Curse of Osiris or you know, the Season of the Worthy or anything, like those story beats I feel like are kind of important on why Osiris is at the tower and why he doesn't have a ghost and, you know, that kind of thing. I just feel like a lot of these characters, like, it's kind of hard to explain because we've been playing Destiny for so long that a lot of these characters, we've already experienced some of their stories. And, you know, like if you go into why is Lord Saladin only in the tower once a month, right? Like nobody really knows his significance, but if you didn't play Rise of Iron, right? I mean, you know who Lord Saladin is. Like he's an Iron Lord. Iron Banner is kind of like training, you know, that kind of thing. But like, who is he? You know, what's the backstory of the Iron Lords? Well, they don't really give you that here, and you really have to dive deep into the lore. Now, like you said, the lore is more accessible than ever. You can go in, read stuff, that kind of thing. But man, there's a lot of lore. Like if you're interested in these characters jumping in now, there kind of is an overwhelming amount to catch up on, depending on how deep you want to go.
Yeah, so first things first, this is a problem that I've been saying for a while needs to be rectified. My ideal solution is never going to happen. But this is where my biggest problem with calling Destiny an MMO comes into play. An MMO, you can always play whatever story content came before, no matter what, at least with a typical MMO. Mm-hmm. I know, like ESO, I can reach back and literally do any of the story content from like the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a compression thing or what they need to do, but they need to figure something out because it's unacceptable. More and more people are having questions like George's, and my solution is simply to eventually bring all the story content, all the raids, and all the strikes from both games should be in this. And I do think that we are progressing to a point where that will likely happen to some degree once we are fully PC, Stadia, PS5, and Series X. Once we're firmly on those 4 platforms.
Just to say something real quick on that, I wonder if it would be a good idea to have like a condensed version of that, because like I'm not gonna lie to you, I jumped into Destiny 1 the other day just to see like what it looked like compared to Destiny 2 and everything, and like as empty as that original story is, it is so long that like all like having all those missions together and that vanilla story and then even into the Dark Below is like, it's so long. Like I feel like you could this
was the same complaint we had about the Destiny 2 campaign as well.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, but this is like I feel like you could take vanilla Dark Below, House of Wolves, and condense it into like you could condense that into like a 12 to 15 mission story arc where like each story is kind of like 4 or 5 missions, right? I really feel like you could do that in some shape or form. I feel like you could get condensed stories out of these. The Taken King is a little bit long. I actually feel like the Taken King is a great length for a campaign. It was only about 4 hours ish, the campaign. And then, like you said, bring the raids back. And I actually like your idea of bringing Crota back as a 3-man dungeon, because there's no need for that to be a full-on raid. There's a lot you could do to catch up on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the biggest steps that they did was to put the lore in game. So everything, and I mean, I realize this doesn't address our concerns of things pre-Forsaken, but the story is kind of accessible. I'm not going to tell anybody to do any sort of outside reading. I am going to say that at least we can access this stuff in game, which we couldn't in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Stupid Grimoire digital trading cards was where we got the lore from. I would like to see them do a condensed version. I definitely agree. Like maybe even as like, maybe bring all of the raids and strikes back into the actual game, but have like an add-on pack. Like we've seen it with Master Chief Collection. And with some of these others, like you could choose what to install. Like, what if you could choose not to install previous campaigns?
Yeah, like if you like, there'd be like you said, like there would be like a core pack that would come with the expansion or the season or whatever. And then, like you said, choose to install. Okay, well, I want to play the vanilla campaign. Let me play that, and then I'll install
just have them. I don't even think you need to condense them at that point. Just have the actual campaigns exist like that as. Okay, here's Destiny 1, here's the Dark Below, here's Rise of Iron, here's Prison of Elders, or House of Wolves, whatever it was called.
I mean, half of those exist already, right? Like half of those locations exist already. Like, I don't know how much that would take up to like just add missions in there,
Yeah, I don't either. But I do think that, ironically, like the raids aren't that important in a lot of contexts to understand what's going on. I mean, like the Leviathan shit is so far removed from anything else that you're like genuinely, if you know who Callus is, you're not missing any sort of story across those 4 those 4 raids. You're not missing a single goddamn thing.
I would even argue that the only 2 raids that have any consequence whatsoever would be Crota and King's Fall. Like, yeah, Volta.
Crota, King's Fall, Last Wish.
I meant from D1.
Oh, from D1, yeah.
I mean, like, I mean, Vault of Glass is like that. That really didn't have anything really to do with the campaign, right? Like, it was just like this really cool thing, and the Vault of Glass kind of explained what the Vex were, but it wasn't like tied intrinsically to the campaign, the way that King's Fall was, at least.
No, and it's not to the. I mean, King's Fall, or not King's Fall, Vault of Glass has repercussions dealing with the wider universe,
Right.
right?
That's what
where
I
we first
meant.
learn
Like,
about Osiris and Praedeath and people like that. Like we learn about them
mm-hmm,
for the first time in the vault, which is a big deal.
mm-hmm.
We get the books of sorrow out of the stuff on the dreadnoughts. I can't help but feel that at some point they're gonna have to do that because that is something that is really gaining traction. That even veteran players are like, this is bullshit. Like some of these missions are really fun. Like, I'd love to play the Homecoming mission from the beginning of Destiny 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to play whatever the final one is. I think it's called Chosen, where
Mm-hmm.
you storm the city with just random other players are running through your instance.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest things ever. In both of those missions, you have other Guardians running around with you. Let me play those.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. Let me go do the shit in the Black Garden. Let me run across the Almighty, to try and turn it off. Like those are genuinely cool missions.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do that stuff. Like let me have a campaign playlist, even if it's just like a daily heroic story again or something. Like let me do it.
I mean, you can take out the parts in the campaigns where like, oh, go to this point and make sure you set up patrols, right? Like, I mean, there was that really annoying like 2 or 3 missions where you had to set up patrol points in the what do you call it, the main place on Earth right now, the EDZ, where you had to like set up all those patrol points and do patrols, and it was
the
like
only time we've ever had to do that where it means anything is when we established the beachhead on the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
That is actually referred to in lore as Cade's Beacon. Like, it has recently been addressed, too, by Osiris.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, like, if you didn't play Destiny 1, if you didn't play Curse of Osiris, you didn't play Season of Dawn, like, who are Saint 14 and Osiris?
Right.
Why are they so important? Like, why are they best friends? Like, you wonder that. I mean, Osiris is, like, I'm going to let you in on a secret, George. Osiris was never in the tower before this. He was exiled.
Mm-hmm.
They only welcomed him back because his ghost is dead now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason. And they killed Sagirov off screen. Yet another grievance that I have. Like, there's so many things I would love to see brought back into this. Like, Drifter's backstory is basically not in the game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you go read the lore. Hawthorne. God, if you didn't play the base campaign, you have no idea who Hawthorne is. Because they don't ever do anything with her again. It's been 4 years and they haven't done a single thing with that character ever.
Yeah.
Ever. She is as useless as Tess and as Amanda. Like, she is completely useless in this game. Like, I would love for people to see what these characters went through. Just to, like, okay, so that's why they're actually here. I think we're going back to the old tower next season, so that's going to confuse people even more.
Plus, there's a lot of people who love like just to play Destiny and play through the campaigns. Like, there's that audience too, and like, what you're going to give them like a 3 or 4 hour campaign every year that they're going to play through and be like, well, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could bring this back, and that would encourage people to engage in older content first of all, but like, get these people who only play the campaigns to like, oh, like there's people who play through the Halo campaigns every year just religiously, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be playing through the Halo campaigns here pretty soon.
Yeah, so I mean, you would have that kind of thing for people to do too. It's just like, it's just a good idea in general, like, you know what I mean? I just feel like the campaigns are great, especially recently, are great storytelling pieces, and like, I really loved Taken King, I really loved Rise of Iron, I really loved Forsaken. Like, these are great campaigns, and you can't play 2/3 of the campaigns that ever existed in Destiny now. So
something like that, yeah. It's honestly ridiculous that you can't.
Warmind was cool. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I feel like
it's such a mixed bag.
Especially like, even like those little small seasonal drops. Like, I'm glad you can play them for like a year now, but like, it used to be like, if you didn't play them during that season, you don't get to play that anymore. you know?
Right. Which, thank God that they've, that we addressed that earlier, they've gotten rid of that. But it's a problem that Destiny has faced for years now, and it's only getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it's not a problem that we faced before, because you could still access all this up until October.
Mm-hmm.
It is a problem that we're starting to face now, and it needs to go away, like,
Mm-hmm.
really badly.
Well, I mean, you could argue that we did face it when Destiny 2 came out, because you can still go back and play Destiny 1,
true.
but like you can't play Destiny 1's content in Destiny 2. So I mean, you could argue that point.
It's ridiculous.
It is, but at the same time, it's like, to fully answer his question, like, there's no real gameplay before Forsaken now that you can go back and see these stories. Like, you can watch Bife videos all you want on these characters, right? Like, I feel like he does a great job. I feel like we do a pretty decent job of talking about stuff here too. I don't know, and maybe that's something we talk about and like addressing in Lore Corner at some point, of like, this is stuff that newer players need to learn. Like, maybe that's a segment we do before the next major expansion, of like, how Bife always does like the recap of, here's the story up to this point, right? Maybe we do some of that, like the final weeks of the season, if there's not anything going on of the expansion.
Right. I mean, that's something that I know you and I tried to do leading into this expansion, leading into Beyond Light, was that's basically what we did from the outset of the show, was, okay, what are things that people need to know going into this that are not accessible in this game because it's Destiny 1, or it's like deep lore stuff? Like, what are you going to need to know? Like, I'll be honest, like, as much as like I love seeing the Stranger back, her intro into this game is not graceful. You're like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, you still don't really know for a little while. Like, she just shows up and it's like, who the hell is this running around with Drifter and Eris? Like, if you didn't play Destiny 1, or you haven't read all the lore and everything else, and it's just, a game should never punish you for not having played content like 4 years ago. It should be accessible. Like, if you're not going to let people play it, like, give us a theater mode to see the cutscenes or something, or see relevant story content.
Yeah, that's something else.
Give us all the lore that's ever been in the grimoire or in game. Put it in the game. That's
something I was going to bring up too, is like, in Gears 5, when you start Gears 5, there's a little segment called State of the Gears universe, and it kind of gives you an overarching thing, and then it says previously on Gears 4. Like, it gave you the kind of the major story beats in Gears 4, so you're caught up. Like, I'm not saying they need to do all that, but they could do, those little cutscenes that they have before every expansion. Like, maybe you just have, like you said, a theater mode where, like, oh, here's the story of Destiny, here's the story of the Taken King, here's the story of Rise of Iron, here's the story of the Red War, here's the story of Warmind. You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of update people on things that they need to know going into this. Because, like, I'm glad we're talking about Cade now, because, like we said at the beginning of this segment, nobody knows who Cade is if they've just jumped in.
Right.
Like, what's the significance of Cade? Even if they jump into Forsaken, he dies at the beginning of Forsaken. So, like, what's the significance of this character? Why do we care?
Why are people still mad about this years later?
Yeah. So,
but I hope that accurately answered your question.
Yeah, and I know we're not trying to sound negative on this thing, but we're trying to be constructive about, like, this stuff should be in the game for people like you. This should, I mean, I would love to go back and, like, if they updated some of the stuff from Destiny 1, I would love to go back and play all these campaigns again. I like the campaigns a lot. I would love to go through with some friends and play through the campaigns and kind of, like, maybe not really pay attention to the story, but, like, talk about, oh man, remember when this happened? Remember when we got together and we took down Oryx like that? You know what I mean? And just kind of like,
right.
I don't know. It's that Halo campaign factor where, like, you play through the campaign with friends and you laugh and you do stupid stuff and you kind of reminisce about when you played it, 10 years ago or whatever, So, but yeah, I hope that answered your question. Thanks for writing in, George. We look forward to more questions from you. and everybody else.
Especially like you're not a veteran player. Like I like questions like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you want your question read on Tower Casuals, you can email us at towercasuals@gmail.com like George did, or you can tweet at us at Tower Casuals. You can join the Boss Rush Games Discord. We want your questions. We would like to answer more of your questions. So we get questions on the other shows, but this one is pretty light on questions. So
yeah,
get them in. But Josh, do we have anything else to discuss?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. This was a good show.
It was. I mean, it's a good TWAB. Like, we're going to be addressing community feedback over the next couple weeks as it relates to the games. So we're winding down on the story content for the season. And as we prepare to go into next season, I mean, we're going to have preview lore probably next week. If we don't have it next week, we'll definitely have it the week after. There's probably going to be an end of season cutscene, I would imagine. And yeah, there's still stuff to do. I mean, go get your Hawkmoons, guys. Get your random roll Hawkmoons. I got one with opening shot, so I have that, and then I have the Parkoozle shot at the end. So I really like that. I know a lot of people are trying to get Eye of the Storm right now for theirs. So get your Hawkmoon roll. Let me know what you got. I'm gonna order me that Bungie Rewards Hawkmoon shirt tonight. Because that thing is hot and I want it real bad, even though I won't be able to wear it for like 8 months because Texas. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about gilded titles, about the Umbral system coming back. Let's talk next week about that, because I've personally got some ideas on more gilded titles that you can do, such as like a Wayfarer 2.0. And even some improvements to some raid ones. So,
well, Josh, we're gonna get out of here, but I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you listen to this show. If you watch us live on Twitch on Thursday nights, please follow. If you watch on YouTube, please subscribe, like, tell your friends. Leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to us. You can check out all of our content on bossrushgames.com. Josh, where can we find you?
You can find me every Sunday night on this very channel. You can find me doing Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast, with Corey, Jesse, and our friend Colonel Panic. And then you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch as @Josh_Finn with 2 N's. Since we are coming up on the new season of Destiny, I'm going to stream some more Destiny. I'm playing through Hitman right now, and we're definitely going to go into the medium next week, because I'm really excited to scream like a child on camera.
Ooh.
So spoopy games.
Can't do it. Are you? Oh, you don't have a PlayStation yet, so you can't play the Resident Evil 8 demo.
I'm very upset about that. Very upset.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Arsenal X with Josh. You can find me on the Boss Rush podcast. And you know what? We're going to go twitch.tv/CoreyHD for this Final Fantasy VII playthrough. It has officially won the Twitter poll I put up. So I guess next week, man. Final Fantasy VII. Here we come.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. And until next week, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.